Interrompemos esse podcast para perguntar: quem você quer ser?
Designer, engenheira, pedagoga,
administrador.
Quer saber? O Senac EAD é nota máxima no MEC. Tem cursos de diversas áreas, com conteúdo elaborado por especialistas do mercado e professores mestres e doutores. Ainda tem o Senac Carreiras, conectando estudantes a vagas de emprego em todo o país. Saiba mais em ead.senac.br/graduação.
Dr. Homebrew is brought to you by 5 Star Chemicals, providing safety and cleaning supplies for brewing, distilling, and winemaking at 5starchemicals.com.
Doctor, look!
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Clear.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. This is Dr. Homebrew, and we're here to drink beers, and we're here to talk about beers. And what else are we here to do?
Have a drum off on the...
Have a drum off on the
countertop.
That's right. That's what we're about. Drinking some cloudy, hazy nonsense from Keith, and, you know, I don't know what to feel about it. I mean, I know what to feel about it. I'm trying to be open.
We're drinking Keith's peach milkshake beer.
Peach milkshake beer. Apparently, that's
IPA.
The new iteration
IPA,
of the cloud of the hazy beers. Now milkshake beers. That's the new thing.
So stupid.
Why did you make this?
Because I told somebody else about it, and he's like, "I'm going to brew that." So then I'm like, "Man, I need to brew that. That guy's going to brew it." So.
And that just happened.
That's how
it's
competitive
it's like
Keith
anything
is.
else.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, I'm gonna do it, and
You just throw down the gauntlet, bro. I'm going for it, too,
It's something
man.
else to do. Why not? It's not even something I like. Like I was saying in the last show, which was a couple weeks ago, don't become the thing you hated. And I just did, you know. And it's like, yeah, you know, I'll sell out. Sure, why not? Give it a shot, see how it works. But I don't have to brew it again. It's just like,
yeah. So you haven't become the thing you hate. You're experimenting.
Well,
it's like in college.
Yeah,
you're just experimenting.
Well, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm just playing the role for a little bit, seeing how it feels.
Are we still talking about beer?
Maybe.
Yeah,
Today we are.
I get it. I get it. And I'm just honestly curious as to why you brewed it. So
I
what are you going to do with it?
This past weekend, I went to an event where I had to serve to the public, and I'm like, the public is stupid. So I'm going to serve them something that was the best thing I've ever seen. Just spit up on the microphone. With your
Literally
water.
just spit water.
But public's stupid, and I'm going to give them something that's really dumb, and they're going to like that. And I still didn't win because I'm an asshole in general, and people didn't want to vote for me. But like, you know, some people were like, "This is the best beer," and I'm like, "Well, you're stupid for even thinking that." But
This is what you served them?
Yeah.
And people thought this was the best beer. What else were they serving? Battery acid?
Thanks, JP.
You're welcome. No, really, were they serving battery acid? I need to know. Well, look, I mean,
they were serving acid, that's why maybe people were drinking this beer and liked it because they were all tripping and tripping. Like, wow, I can see the peach and I can see the milkshake in my hands right now.
Did it bring all the boys to the yard? Because that's what I need to know also. Because if it didn't, then I'm not for it.
You are curious, aren't you?
I'm a curious dude. That's what I do. It's interesting. Why is it? It has vanilla and peaches and whatever the fuck else.
Lactose and oats and wheat, and it looks like shit. And it's 1318, the London 3 East, and I think the dry hopping was a little too fresh and late in the game. I wish I had more time. I was out of town and I had to come back and kind of rush it all, and it kind of gives you a little bit of too much of the lingering bitterness from the dry hopping, really. Like, kind of, you know, it's kind of like the sharpness from it.
That phenolic thing.
Yeah, I wish it didn't have that. If it didn't have that, I think it would be
hop phenolics
better.
The vanilla is not coming through very strongly. I think it's just buried by all that everything else.
It really is. And I kept adding more and more vanilla until the point where I could actually get some of it through.
You get a little bit, yeah.
It was mostly done by taste.
I don't know that I'd want that much more anyway, because there's so much else.
Right.
But no, I don't know.
Okay, well, hey, thanks for bringing it in. I'm glad you're trying.
I brought it knowing, and I brought it in the little 12-ounce bottles because I knew that you would hate it especially. So it was kind of like it was just it was fun. It was like something I wanted to try that was different. And every once in a while, you need that sort of challenge where you're like, just brew something that's totally outside of your comfort range, something you don't like, and give it a shot.
Yeah, why not, dude?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you do that? That's the real question. Well, before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor, 5 Star Chemicals. Of course, the great folks at 5 Star have been supporting us from the jump here, and we really appreciate it. You can go to 5starchemicals.com and learn about all of their products for cleaning and sanitizing your home brewing equipment. They're great people. They make a lot of great products, and they do a lot for the home brewing community, man. So if you're not already using them, give them a shot. If your local homebrew shop does not carry them, tell them to, demand it, or order online. Because it's worth it. It's worth going outside of your shopping chain, if you will, to grab these great products. So 5starchemicals.com.
We hope they stay with us forever because they are awesome.
Me too. They're great people. I like them. I like them a lot. And they give you a prize pack for being on the show. So they're very, very generous.
There are prizes on this show?
There are prizes on this show.
You didn't tell me about this.
You should enter one day.
I tried.
I just did. I don't get a prize for the peach milkshake bullshit that I just entered.
Was it better than my ESB?
I don't know.
Which one of us wins the grog tag?
Good question. Good question. But on the phone right now, we have Ricky. Ricky, are you there, buddy?
I'm here. How's it going?
Good, man. How are you doing?
Doing well.
Nice. We have like a mixed fermentation beer that you sent us. What? Tell me a little bit about this beer.
Yeah, well, I was tasting all these sour beers and everything that's been coming out lately, and had been all the new hype. And I was like, hey, I'm going to try to brew something like this. And so I dove into it, read a little bit, read some books and things, and so I tried. This is my first attempt at a mixed fermentation beer. And I kind of went off some things I got off the Sour Hour, some things I got off some books, and went through and tried to make my own thing.
Nice. How long have you been homebrewing?
I've been homebrewing, maybe 6 years or so, a little bit of that.
Oh, that's a long time. Is this your first kind of foray into the sour beers, mixed fermentation stuff?
Yeah, the long term, like the long term sours. I did some, Berliner Weiss and some Goes, but nothing that was, as long as this one. This one was in primary fermentation for a year and some change.
Wow. Okay. I still haven't. I've been homebrewing like 15, 18 years, but I've never done an intentional sour beer. I've tried to fix some shit that I've done wrong, but
you should try it. It's surprisingly not. You just forget about them in your closet. Just leave them.
I can do that.
Are you talking about beer again? Or are you talking about your college?
My deep dark secrets.
Just leave it suppressed in the closet.
People you killed in college, that sort of thing.
Cool. Well, Brian, give us a start, man. It smells great.
There's a lot of aroma here.
What is this? Let's see. It's a currant. This is black currant mixed fermentation.
Mixed fermentation sour beer with black currants.
Okay.
And there was no base style declared. Bottle fill was good. Nice hiss when you opened it. And aroma-wise, brightly fruity up front. Mm-hmm. It's got a nice. I'm getting like a fruit punch and a cherry berry-like notes in there, quite prominent. It smells like it's going to be pretty tart and acidic. I also got kind of an aroma that reminded me of like a fruit mead. It has kind of a mead-like or maybe cidery kind of apple berry.
I got the cider there, Brian, definitely.
Thank you. So there's a lot of apple esters and a lot of maybe honey-like quality to it, which is interesting with everything else that's there. So there's no obvious. I didn't get a big obvious Brett. It just has an interesting kind of a jam-like twang, like strawberry jam. It's not very acetic. Seems to be mostly lactic. I'm not getting any diacetyl or DMS or anything gnarly in there. So, the aromas are playing nicely together for the most part. Some interesting stuff. A very pretty hot pinkish red color. It's fairly hazy at the same time. So it had a low light pink head with reddish. There were some kind of reddish chunks floating in the head on the one I tasted last night. Fades to a pink color after a short time. Flavor-wise, You know, it has a pretty firm tartness up front, but a lot of it may be coming also from the sour fruit, just the bite of the fruit. It's kind of cherry, currant, berry. Has kind of a berry candy like flavor to it, like a berry pixie sticks or something. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, sure.
Like the bitterness is low and on the way. It balances to the fruit and sour. Seems to be pretty cleanly lactic. There's some hints of just slight funk and acetic in the background. It finishes quite dry, but it seems, the impression is that it seems sweeter than it probably really is from the sour and the berries. Again, I'm not getting very much Brett or hay-like or too much barnyardy anything in here at all. It seems to be mostly the pedio-lacto thing maybe. So mouthfeel-wise, it's medium-light bodied, medium-low carbonation. It's kind of biting from the sourness that is there, somewhat sharp. I'm not getting any warmth or astringency, and it's not very creamy, smooth. It just kind of gives you a little sting, and then it's on its way, so dries off. But yeah, overall, it's a pleasant beer. It has a lot going for it. Seems cleanly brewed. I don't know what the base style was, but the fruit character, I'd have to say too that the one thing I noticed about the fruit character, it has something kind of a little bit kind of pithy, like the meat of the fruit, kind of seed like
a pectin thing.
Pectin-y, maybe.
Is that the right term? Can you said strawberry jam? That's kind of what I.
Yeah, it's not super astringent, so I'm not thinking. And also, since just currants don't generally have many seeds, it's not. It doesn't seem like it'd be something that would be coming from a seed. But just like kind of a pithy, like the inner part of a grapefruit peel kind of a flavor. So the balance could be improved by, you can add a little bit of Brett to this, and it might make it more interesting, and or a little more malt complexity. It's just kind of a one-trick pony with all the fruit and berry-like notes that are in there. It's like a big fruit punch explosion with some sourness, and that's what you get. But I'd be curious to know what the base style was too. I liked the beer. I thought it was very good. I gave it a 33. So, but it's kind of hard for me to give too much feedback without talking to Ricky about what he did. So hopefully we'll get into some of the details of where he went with this beer, who he listened to. Did he listen? He listened to the Sour Hour. He's some good people.
He's probably listening to Wicked Weed, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, burn, dude, burn.
Oh, sorry, too soon?
A little bit.
Okay, sorry.
Go ahead, Keith.
Okay.
Yep, you do it.
So I got a medium strong sour character. Like Brian, I agree it was more lactic than acetic. There was a slight acetic character there. There's some apple cider notes. Not getting much funk at all. Currants are faint. They present more as grapes to me than currants. I got a little bit of red wine character in the beer. And just a very, very, very light enteric character to it as well. Otherwise, very clean, no diacetyl, no phenols, and anything of that nature. Hazy, medium purple, reddish in color with a low pink head. The pink head was really cute. I like that.
Yeah.
Color on the glass, but not much head. But yeah, if you stir it around a little bit, it does reform a little bit there. It is a neat looking beer, definitely. Haze is medium, I would say. Flavor wise, medium sourness. I got a touch of a musty corked character. Some cidery notes again. No hops. Not getting any Brett character either. Balance is nearly even between the sweetness and sourness. No bitterness there either. But the sweetness and sourness kind of balance each other out. It's not one way or the other, which is kind of a nice thing in this beer. Actually, a soft finish. I didn't find it to be fairly dry. It didn't really dry out like a lot of sour beers would do. Feels like there are some residual sweetness left in the beer. Maybe just a tiny touch of butter and a tiny touch of phenol, but those are both probably below threshold overall. And I'm struggling to detect, like am I actually tasting a little bit of baby vomit? I guess I was trying to pick that out or not. I don't think it's
like
there.
A butyric.
Yeah, butyric thing. And I'm just trying. There was something a little off. Like it was almost like sour milk sort of. It's really, really slight. There was something there I couldn't really. I was trying to fight through last night. It was pretty late when I was doing this.
Yeah, it's right on the edge. You really have to focus your brain on it real fast.
Low carbonation, maybe just a touch of warming, no astringency, low creaminess, and maybe medium body, which is probably a little funny for me, for a sour to have as much body as this beer does. For me, it smelled more sour than it actually tastes. The flavor's a little subdued. I thought the fruit was a little bit nondescript. I couldn't pick out the current necessarily. To me, it came across more as a grapey sort of wine sort of thing. I think overall, the beer reminded me a lot of a red wine in a lot of ways, just sort of the aroma and some of the flavor characteristics as well. I agree with Brian again. I would love to see a little more interesting characters. Maybe throw some bread in it. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. Maybe add a little more fruit. Something just to make it a little jump out of the glass a little bit more. But I liked the beer a lot. I thought it was a fun drinking beer. Nothing really offensive at all. And the color and it was pretty neat. In general, and I could see this being very appealing to someone who likes drinking wine. This seems like a pretty good crossover for that sort of drinker. So I gave it a 31.
Okay.
Or you could serve it with some fruit floating in it, like strawberries.
Mm-hmm. Hell yeah, dude.
I think I get a strawberry more than like the red grape thing to me.
Mm-hmm. I get a currant. I can get a currant thing out of it too. Yeah, but
usually when I'm making I'm used to the currants in my consecration ale clone, which is the Belgian dark strong base. So I'm very curious about the base, and then we can talk about what else.
Well, are those those currants actually real currants or not? I mean, there's the whole currant thing is kind of a weird thing as well. Are the Zante currants, which are actually raisins, versus like traditionally like. There's a lot of currants grown in Europe, and there's not really many currants, if at all, grown in the U.S. at all, like a black currant sort of thing or a red currant. Most of those end up being more raisiny sort of fruits, like more close to grapes than they are actually currants. And currants are very popular in Europe, but they're just not. They're not here really at all. So I'm as well. I'm very interested in hearing.
Well, let's find out. Ricky, you want to hit us with the recipe?
Yeah, I use the Rare Barrel, the golden recipe.
For the base
for this
beer?
one, yeah, for the base. I didn't, no wicked weed here, just Rare Barrel. Very, and that's from someone from North Carolina, so it kind of stays. So for the hops, I used, it was just a small amount of Styrian Golding, 3 IBUs, and for the yeast, I used a blend. It was from East Coast Yeast called Bug County. It has like 7 different Bretts in it, 2 different lactose, a couple of different Saison strains, and PDO. And then I also, at about the 6-month mark, I added some Jester King dregs to it. But the black currant, it came from Vintner's Harvest. It was a puree. And I put that in right at about the 8 or 9 month mark, and then I let it sit in there for maybe 3 more months.
Yeah, that's a good time.
And how big was the batch size, and how big was the amount of
fruit addition?
Fruit addition, yeah. Was it 1 can for 5 gallons, or?
Yeah, it was a 5-gallon batch, and it was a 3 pound can of puree.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, puree is nice because it kind of gets out of your way, but at the same time, don't be afraid to throw real fruit in there. Just buy the dried organic currants, and find a variety that you like. And
but it is really hard to find like true black currants in the U.S. like dried at all. Like I've been through this and
get the Zante all over the place.
Yeah,
but not
there's
that.
Current Z, whatever. There's a company that does that, but and even like a can of that sometimes it's like you need more than 1 can, but you don't necessarily need 2 cans, and it's kind of like
right.
Or you don't need birds in your.
And the cans probably cost
like
$30 each.
Yeah,
or something.
they're expensive, and sometimes if a can's been sitting around too long, you end up giving a metallic character, which I got none of that in this beer at all.
Right.
Sometimes you get some of that from those cans. The puree's been sitting around for a long time. They should date those more often, and I don't know. I've had some problems from cans from time to time, but sorry, that was a bit of a tangent, but I think it's probably helpful for the listening audience in general.
Ricky,
I put. I put this beer in a couple of different competitions, and I've gotten all kinds of like widespread different reviews and takes on it. Like, you guys didn't taste any Brett, but I get a lot of people that say they taste a lot of Brett in it. I've gotten very high scores. I've got low scores. I've got them all over the mark. I think the highest score I've got on this was a 44.
Nice.
And yes, I mean it's a weird one. I think depending on your taste and how, you know, your sour threshold and things of that nature, I think it changes for certain people. It is very layered. Like, you do have that tartness up front with that very bright, juicy aroma. Then you kind of have some more of the darker mid-palate flavors, and you have a little bit of the kind of vomity thing that we're trying to pin our finger on. But that comes and goes for me. So yeah. I think you're right, Ricky, where it depends on where you're at that moment. I mean, that's kind of judging in general, but I think with this beer, it's kind of a chameleon. Where I think for the most part, if you're drinking a pale ale, it's probably going to be the same, or you know what I mean.
Right.
But
sours are hard to judge too. I mean, there are a lot of judges out there that are looking for a specific thing, or just they
want everything to taste like Rodenbach Grand Cru.
And sometimes they're not even that experienced either. So you may get a lower score, Ricky, than you would expect, because they're not really used to sours, and they've been sort of thrown into this thing, and they were expecting something really sour, and this is kind of a great sort of medium sourness that I think it actually works really well.
Yeah, the other part of the game too is deciding where to declare it, like for base style, if you declare a base style, and what to call it. It's like, if you say, oh yeah, it's a Belgian golden ale, golden strong, or a golden, whatever, anything, and then it's like, if the judge doesn't taste that, like, well, I should be tasting some of that base style, right? It's like, then they'll maybe knock it down for that. So, but if you declare something weird and obtuse, like it's a pink ale, what's that? No one's going to know what that is. So it's a hard thing to do if there's not much of a base style poking through, which a lot of sours don't have. The ones that start as a Belgian dark strong don't taste anything like a Belgian dark strong anymore. It's just like red sour or brown sour or dark, whatever.
Do you have any questions for the guys, Ricky?
No, I think I got some really good feedback, and that's kind of what I was looking for, to get some kind of a baseline, and I trust you guys because I listen to the show all the time. So
thanks.
Thanks for the feedback.
You had a nice pellicle form on this one. Did you have a couple different pellicles, or what happened there?
Oh yeah, it was a really nice pellicle to start. Really large, tall bubbles. Yeah. And then once I racked it over, off the yeast cake, got another pellicle, and then when I added the fruit, got another one that was a crazy pink, purpley kind of thing. It was awesome. It was very interesting.
It's fun to watch them develop.
This is my first one, and I've dived into a couple more. I think my fermentation chamber right now has 3 sours in it that I've got going. So I'm continuing the craft.
Good for you, yeah.
Are they all in glass too, Ricky? That's another question I have. It's like, how are you doing this condition wise? Are they in glass throughout the time, or where do they go throughout that? Because I think that's an interesting. Like, I didn't get a ton of acetic character here, but yeah, are you doing glass for these, or what's the?
No, I'm not. I'm not doing glass. Actually, I just switched over to the kind of like a large mouth plastic fermenters.
Okay.
For all my stuff out
like
there.
The PET.
This one actually for the first until I put it on the currents was actually in a bucket. This one was.
Okay.
And
sometimes the lid won't seal it quite properly. You'll get air in there and it'll turn it into vinegar.
Yeah, and I tasted it because I put a tasting port like midway on the bucket so that I can kind of monitor it. Yeah. And I feel like I had a good seal, and I just let it sit there for about 6 months, and then once I racked it into the next vessel, it went into a carboy.
Yeah, as long as you have a good seal, it's best not to muck around in there.
Yeah.
Very good. Keep working on it. That's great.
No, it's very impressive. Very impressive for a first hour, I would
and a lot of a lot of fruit.
Absolutely,
I can see a lot of people loving this one.
Yeah. All right, Ricky, we're gonna let you go, man.
All right, man. See you.
All right, thanks, man. Bye. Yeah,
Cool.
I dug it.
Now, he's East Coast. He's the one you should have told to go to bed, right?
I know. I thought about it, but I was like, well, if he didn't hear the first show, then he might think I'm pushy, so whatever. Anyway, it's Dr. Homebrew. Hang on. We'll be right back.
Hello, fellow BNers. This is Sully from the 21st Amendment Brewery located in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park. Before Nico and I opened the 21A and before I was a professional brewer, I homebrewed on my small 4-burner apartment stove in a back house in Santa Monica, California, making my extract brews before graduating to the daunting idea of all-grain brewing. Homebrew books and information was hard to come by back then. The internet hadn't been invented yet, along with other things we take for granted today, like electricity and potable water. One thing I wish I had back then when I was learning was a radio show that could teach me the ins and outs of brewing and answer questions that I had about homebrewing, a resource for making great craft beer. The 21st Amendment Brewery is excited to be a proud sponsor of Dr. Homebrew, a great show that teaches you what you need to know about making incredible beer. Good stuff. Listen up, you might learn something. I certainly did. And thanks for your support. Tasty Crack Kings.
Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing. And like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making. Now, back to the examination.
All right, thanks for hanging with us, everybody. Just in time for Father's Day. We want you to think ahead for Father's Day. Your dad has helped you out over the years, so why not help him out for a change? You get the man some grog tags. Head over to grogtag.com and design him some custom labels that only a father could love. Or grab a gift certificate and let him get creative. He can choose from dozens of labels for his beer and winemaking, or some custom bottle caps, coasters, or even a metal sign. Whatever he chooses, he'll have you to thank for a change. Head over to grogtag.com and enter code BNARMY at checkout to take 10% off your next order. That's BNARMY at grogtag.com.
Better yet, learn how to brew your dad some beer, but then send it in to us. Let us critique it, improve it, brew it again, send some more to us, let us critique it again, improve it until it's perfect, and then make a great grog tag to go on that beer and give it to your dad next year. Think ahead. Yeah. Think way ahead.
Think way ahead. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you think way ahead?
Yeah. You would.
Let's be honest.
I would.
Right.
No, maybe not.
Let's get Philip on the line here. Poor guy. It's like midnight or wherever he is. What do we have? A Doppelbock, right?
Doppelbock, yeah.
All right. Cool. Philip, are you with us?
Hey, what's up?
And what's going on, dude? You sound really bright-eyed and ready to hit the ground running on this thing.
Yeah, sure. We'll call it that.
All right. How long you been homebrewing, man?
I guess like 2.5 years now.
Okay. Is this your first Doppelbock?
It is, yes.
Awesome.
And my second lager.
Wow, great. All right. Well, Keith, go ahead, man. Let's hit his first Doppelbock.
Thanks, JP.
You're welcome.
So on the nose, I'm getting some dark fruit, a little bit of Concord grapes, light soy sauce, no hops, low alcohol. I'm also, though, getting a solventy note there, hint of chocolate and toast, but both are very faint. And then as it warmed and as I got a little more familiar with the beer, I'm getting a little bit of green apple, and it gets a little bit stronger as we go along there. appearance, dark brown with really nice red hues to it. Brilliant clarity, so it's very, very pretty in that respect. But the head-wise, not much head there at all. It's a little bit of a faint legs collar around the beer, but not much more beyond that. I think last night I had a little more head and it dissipated pretty quickly. But today we poured it and it was pretty much just looking pretty flat. Maybe our glasses.
There's the glassware here, yeah.
Yeah, glassware here is a little bit crappier than my house.
It is, yeah.
But whatever. So flavor wise, let me get a taste here again just to acclimate myself to this. I'm getting a sweet malt, big dark fruit flavor. Alcohol now is medium high, I would say. But I'm getting that big green apple character, sort of Jolly Rancher thing going on. But also there's a little solvent thing there as well. Acetone-like, I would say. Balance in the beer is towards sweet, but there is enough balance, I think, for the bitterness and dry finish. No hop flavor at all. Maybe just a touch of papery cardboard, but I think I get that in a lot of beers, just from being a little oversensitive to oxidation. Mouthfeel, medium warming. I don't know why I started with that in mouthfeel, but jumped out pretty much at me. No stringency. Carbonation is low. Maybe just a little bit of creaminess. I'd say, I think carbonation is probably my big ding there on the mouthfeel. It seems, there's not much going on there with carbonation. I do. So overall impression, I do like the malt character here. I think biggest problems I are having are with that green apple acetaldehyde. I'll announce it now. The green apple acetaldehyde sort of character and slight solvent notes. The alcohol is pretty strong, but I think a little more age that'll sort of go away. I think it seems like the recipe's pretty solid. It's just more of a yeast sort of health issue here, making sure you're pitching enough yeast, enough contact on the beer as well, which is pretty, with a lager, more often than not, if you don't have enough contact and long enough time, you're going to have more problems with diacetyl. Solvent, though, is kind of interesting because to me that tells me that it would probably be a little bit higher fermentation temperature than you'd want in a lager, but that may not entirely be the problem there. But overall, I would look at the yeast health and maybe just let the beer condition a little bit longer, too, to get some of that alcohol to age out a little bit.
Right on.
So anyway, I gave it a 24.
Okay. Brian, go ahead, please. Young man.
Yes, sir. The double buck. So I'm getting the aroma. There's a deep maltiness to it, which is as you should expect. Kind of a. I feel like I got a little green pepper note. I was trying to get what I was getting towards there, and a little peppery alcohol up front. There's a few Maillard byproducts in there, the kind of, as they call them, melanoidin byproducts. Picking up some green apple-like acetaldehyde. No hops, as expected, but the esters are low, and there's a faint kind of plum-like quality to it, which is nice. A low sherry-like. I feel like I got a tiny hint of a plastic phenolic in this, like a Band-Aid strip kind of plasticky bucket-like note in there, but it was pretty low. But it was kind of behind there's a little solventy, and the acetaldehyde is kind of the primary flaw in this one. Color-wise, it's brown in color, clear. Had a low light tan head that faded to a ring pretty quickly. Mostly finer bubbles. I didn't see any legs form on the sides of the glass. So you should have a little bit of head there to bring the appearance score up a bit. Flavor-wise, I thought that the flavor was better than the aroma. The acetaldehyde doesn't, the malt kind of kicks in, and it's very malty and flavorful. There's a big alcohol. It's obviously apparent. Yes, the alcohol is a little hot and solventy in nature, but the balance is definitely the malt. You kind of feel like, okay, this is probably a pretty good recipe. The bitterness is low and out of the way. it just seems like it had the ingredients started out well. The brew day probably went well. It just had kind of a flawed lager ferment. Low esters, the alcohol is just too hot and peppery. It kind of lingers in the aftertaste alongside those raisin and prune-like notes that are there.
Peppery, that's good. That's a good. I get that for sure.
There's some green apple in the flavor, but it's a little more hidden and obscured by everything else that's going on in there. And again, just a faint phenolic, a little plastic there. Mm-hmm. Mouthfeel-wise, full-bodied, medium-low carbonation, and some very obvious heat. It actually kind of burns as you keep drinking it down into your throat and into the back of your throat and your chest. It's not a very smooth beer. I wouldn't call it creamy at all. At the same time, there's no astringency. It's not really biting, but it's intense on the alcohol front. There's quite a bit of solvent, and when you smell the solvent and you start tasting the solvent, and then you feel that burn. There's some definitely higher alcohols going that your yeast kicked out, and it's not just the pure ethanol. So that'll give you a headache if you drink too much of it. Overall impression, it's a big darkish double bock with some real redeeming qualities. It just much too biting on the alcohol front, and the green apples getting in the way. There's some signs of yeast stress or contamination going on here by some unwanted microbes. And I would pitch a massive, strong, vigorous, or wild yeast could do some damage too. A healthy dose of yeast. I mean, you always just can use a little more than you think. Get a big, healthy pitch from a brewery or something if you can, and a quart jar for a bigger batch. But yeah, just look at the yeast calculators. Mr. Malty is great. That Jamil guy, I guess, he knows his stuff
a little bit, yeah.
And there's also the other, the oxygenation. Make sure you're oxygenating well enough.
Yeah, all the other factors,
and maybe reoxygenating on a Doppelbock too is after 8 to 12 hours, something along those lines.
The first day you can give it a little help along the way. That's a great idea. And watch the fermentation temp. It might, like he said, be indicative of a fermentation that went a little higher than you had intended. But yeah, I don't know what it was. It'd be nice to know what it was lagered at and fermented at and lagered at, and how you did the temperature ramping and stuff. But yeah, I gave it a 26. I thought you got to keep that yeast happy. You got to, lagering is tough, man. The first time I lagered, it wasn't very pretty, but you can learn it with time and get better at it. It'll help smooth out the balance of this beer. The recipe is good, I think. The recipe is fine. Just work on that fermentation.
All right. Phil, you have some questions, I assume, for the guys?
Yeah, I do. That's all really fair feedback. Thank you.
Cool.
So the thing with this beer, it's literally just shit that I had left over. And my buddy had come over to help me make some... What's that?
I keep saying that recipe was great.
Yeah, totally, yeah.
Whatever you had around was actually perfect for it.
Yeah, so my buddy had come over to help me make some beer for the wedding. Just got married a couple weeks ago. And
congratulations.
So we got done. Thank you. We got done with that, within 3 hours. Would have been spending another, 40 minutes cleaning up. It was like, let's make another beer. To which I replied, okay. So we kind of threw this stuff together, and it was just random stuff, essentially. So there's 10 pounds of Vienna, 4 1/4 of Cara Munich, and 3 pounds of Munich, light Munich. And I did do first wort hops of this. It was just half an ounce of Magnum, and then 45 minutes of another half ounce of Hallertau Melfro. And at 15 minutes, we put a pound of candy sugar and 90 SRM in there. And that was it. But it's funny that you're talking about a lot of big, healthy yeast pitches, because we actually used 3 packs of Safe Lager 3470, which I thought was adequate. I'm not really sure what happened there, but it did take a little while to actually take off. So I actually chilled it down to 45 degrees and let it kind of warm up a little bit in my freezer over maybe, 18 hours or so. And then at 49 degrees, I think I pitched the yeast at.
Yeah.
Took a little while to take off. Like I said, I think it actually started actively fermenting within another 18 hours after that.
Another thing to think about too is the temperature of your wort and the yeast when you combine the two. If your wort is much colder than the yeast packs are at, if they're sitting at room temperature and you got beer at 50 degrees, they're going to be like, what? And just kind of drop out.
Yeah,
so,
I've actually seen acetaldehyde form as well when you pitch too cold and ferment too cold initially as well. Like I'm not familiar enough with that yeast. I've never used it before to see how it performs, and I've never even done the research on it. But I'm wondering, like if it needs a certain temperature range. You said 49 degrees, maybe. You probably did the research there.
It was a bit low.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the recommended range for minimum is like 54 or something like that.
Okay.
So it took a little while. So I think there might have been a chance for an opportunity for infection there. But it's funny you guys keep saying the green apple thing too, because I got actually a lot of medicinal, like almost cherry flavors in there. I got the green apple as well, but not nearly as much as the medicinal stuff.
I get the green apple a lot. I didn't get it at first, and then I swirled it and shoved my nose in there, and then I was like, oh, okay. But it's like the green apple skin.
But that green apple fruitiness is combining with the dark malts that are there and the prune, and it makes for a weird fruit aroma together.
Yeah,
the cherry thing.
Yeah, I think last night when I was tasting it, I remember like getting more of the solvent up front. My notes were always like, more of the solvent medicinal thing. And then like, as it warmed more, then I was getting more of the green apple. I'm like, oh, that's acetaldehyde there. But initially, I'm like, oh, it's solventy more, so it was kind of bouncing back and forth a little bit there. And whatever. I was watching a hockey game, so it was going on. So I was probably bouncing back and forth a little bit there too. I
wonder what that's like to be a fan of a hockey team that goes deep in the playoffs. I don't know what that feels like. So
you mean goes deep, wins the Stanley Cup? You mean
that too? That too.
Anyway. But anyway, Philip, where are you calling from, by the way? Did we talk about what's your local homebrew club?
What's your local hockey team?
Hockey, dude, I have no fucking idea. I just moved up to upstate New York over the winter. I'm in Ithaca now.
Yeah.
Ithaca? All right.
I don't care about hockey. I really was just trying to get a rise out of you.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Dude.
Zero fucks given about sports, dude. Sorry.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if that's it, Philip, we'll let you go to bed. How about that?
Well, I do wonder,
yes.
what do you think those solvency flavors are really coming from then, aside from the yeast house?
Your lack of hockey.
Yeah, totally.
Team. Maybe
it's gotta be that.
Grab onto the Cornell college hockey team or something like that. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
If it's an ale, you would typically, the feedback would be it's like you fermented at too high of a temperature. But in this case, it's more complicated than that. The yeast is getting happy, and it took a while for it to get happy. And when the yeast is stressed, it's going to kick out all kinds of different things, trying to fight its way back to life and kind of deal with all the sugars that it has to deal with in a big beer like this. So it's going to kick out some odd flavors like acetaldehyde or solvent or higher alcohols. And,
I agree with Brian there. It's not necessarily, solvent isn't always just a high temperature thing. Sometimes whatever the yeast is not happy, it's going to give off byproducts that it can't reabsorb. And that's the key here is really making sure you have a yeast that. I mean, I'm not a big fan of. You said this was dry yeast, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't know enough about dry lager yeast, but I haven't heard a lot of tons of positive.
Embrace the dry lager yeast, my friend.
I haven't heard a ton of positive things about it. So,
you think it's a yeast thing?
No, I don't think it's that necessarily.
Not the selection necessarily.
Yeah. But I think that's part of it. I think it's probably is a little bit finicky to work with, and even getting it to be as good as something that is pure is going to,
Okay.
It's interesting. But no, I think Brian's totally right. It's like making sure that it's really happy all the way through, has enough oxygen. Did you oxygenate the wort? Did you oxygenate it a second time for a big beer like this? I don't know how big it was. You're adding candy sugar. It sounded like you guys were drinking maybe a little bit while you were brewing.
Yeah, actually, the booze on our account was not a factor in this beer, but yeah, it's kind of weird. So I waited like 12 days to do a de-rest, so it fermented out. After 12 days, I did the day after rest. I ramped it up to like 65, left it there for another 4 days, And then I started lagering for I think it was 6 weeks after that.
Did you take a reading when you did the diacetyl rest, or was it just pretty much just like, hey, I'm waiting until enough time? Like I always try to do it 75 to 80% fermentation done to do it. But if you're not doing a reading, and then maybe it was still fermenting actively, and you're getting some of that the
solvent from there, transfer time.
Yeah, it's a little bit higher than it needed to. So 60% done. If
it's still bubbling strongly, your diacetyl rest, it's not right.
No.
It slowed down a lot.
Pretty much done. I think the reading was at 10:26 when I started the D-rest. So
I'm getting
it finished out at 10:20.
No diacetyl, if that's a good thing.
If you like to lager, you can get one of those beer bug things, and then you can watch the curve slowing down.
Yeah, dude. Beer bug's where it's at.
Yeah, it's good for lagers and meads and all kind of good things. Anything, but
yeah, much like pretty much everything else in this hobby, it's not exactly easy on the pocket. So
no, for sure, for sure. But especially for lagers and stuff like that, that beer bug would help out a lot for sure.
Just oxygenate well and get a big healthy a jar full of slurry and just put in roughly the right amount of something that was just actively fermenting somewhere else, like your local brewery that makes lagers. And it'll just go like mad right away, and you'll be so much happier.
Yeah.
It's not a bad beer. The flavor is actually pretty good, but it's just the aroma is a little off-putting, and there's some other issues there. But yeah, despite not trying to make a good recipe, you did okay.
Fair enough.
All right. Is that it?
You
good?
That's all for me.
Okay. All right, fella. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And, you got it. Next time you send a beer, we'll get you on an earlier time, my friend.
Right on, man. Thanks.
All right.
Cheers. Thanks for staying up with us. Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Awesome. What else is awesome is Atlantic Brew Supply. Family-owned Atlantic Brew Supply is the biggest homebrew shop in the Southeast. No gimmicks, no multinational corporate overlords, and no BS. Get 15% off your first order when you use the coupon code BREWDOC. That's BREWDOC at checkout. Unique ingredients from local suppliers, including malt made last month, not last year, from neighboring artisan malt house Epiphany Craft Malts. And they also have exotic microbiotics from South Yeast Labs. Malts, extract, and more, all available by the ounce, not just by the pound, and an on-site calculator to help you craft your best brew. I wish more shops would do that. Like an on-site homebrew calculator.
Yeah.
That's great. They have award-winning recipe kits crafted by pro brewers, including the Toll by Rayleigh Brewing Company's GABF-winning Imperial Oatmeal Stout, which I already like, plus pro-level equipment, and the best in cask equipment from sister companies ABS Commercial and Cask Supply. They have same-day order processing and guaranteed 2-day shipping for East Coast customers. Again, 15% off your first order when you use coupon code BREWDOC at checkout from Atlantic Brew Supply.
I like the no corporate overlords aspect of that.
Right, especially today. Well, not today, but this month.
Yeah.
All our buyouts and shit like that. Anyway, hang on, everybody. We'll be right back. It's Dr. Homebrew.
Do you know the 3 most important rules in brewing? Sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star Sand, SaniClean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers, and more. 5-Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5-Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5-Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5-Star treatment today.
Are you a member of the White Labs Customer Club? If not, you should be. It's the easiest way to earn free stuff for turning in your old homebrew labels from either Vials or Pure Pitch. All you have to do is save your labels and redeem them for things like free yeast, an exclusive White Labs t-shirt or sweatshirt, and even the opportunity to brew with the yeast man himself, Chris White. Signing up is easy. Just go to whitelabs.com/customer club, fill out the registration form, and then mail in your labels. They will return the favor by sending you awesome White Labs swag. Go sign up today at whitelabs.com/customer club. White Labs, pure yeast and fermentation since 1995.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but we're going to have to pour you out.
Back to Dr. Homebrew.
All right, thanks for sticking with us, everybody. I don't know if you guys know this, but tickets are on sale now for the 39th Annual National Homebrewers Conference, a.k.a. HomebrewCon. Join your homebrewing comrades this June 15th through the 17th in Minneapolis for 3 unforgettable days of learning, camaraderie, and delicious beer, of course. Space is limited, so be sure to register now. Go to homebrewcon.org.
Was that written by Russians?
Comrade. Hello, comrade.
Oh, man.
I'm looking forward to that HomebrewCon deal this year. I think it'll be fun.
I'm looking forward to being conned out of all my homebrew.
I hope I win something. What would you guys do if I won? You're not going, Keith, right? But you're going.
No, I'll have. My wife was like, last night, she's like, can we go to that? I'm like, yeah, that's like 2 weeks after we have the baby.
Wow.
She was like, well, let's not go to that. I'm like, why didn't they have it in the winter in Minnesota? I'm like, well, why does anybody go to the winter, go to Minnesota in the winter anyway?
Yeah.
It was kind of like HomebrewCon's always a HomebrewCon. Now I'm calling it HomebrewCon as well, but it's always at the same time. I'm like, you know when it was,
It's
Sarah. Like,
always
what the hell? Like,
why did she choose to get pregnant then?
Yeah, like,
what is wrong with her?
Mixing, man.
Because it is her fault. Let's call her up and ask her right now.
We'll get her out next year. It'll be okay.
That'll be great. Before we get to the winners, I do want to tell you guys about the Smart Brew water testing kit. Called the iDip, incorporates a revolutionary photometer system, which is the first and only one on the market with its own app. Home or commercial use, it takes great water to make great beer, of course, so you can use it in your home or your commercial brewery. The only meter on the market that runs water tests with no math needed on your part. It pairs via Bluetooth and updates your water results instantly to your own personal water profile. You can email those results to your rest of your brew team or post it to your Facebook page and your homebrew club. Get the lowdown on your base water profile. Has the ability to test over 40 different water quality tests. 4 come preloaded and more are available. You can test for things like total alkalinity, chloride, calcium hardness, pH, sulfate, and more, with only 4 mils of water needed for each test. There's a Brewing Network special, of course, because we're pretty awesome. You go to smartbrewkit.com, enter code TBN10 at checkout, and you save $10 on either the standard or the advanced Smart Brew testing kit. Order now and make this futuristic technology part of your brewing process. Visit smartbrewkit.com. Enter code TBN10 at checkout. Save yourself $10, man. Okay, Brian, let's do this, dude.
Yes.
Who wins? So we have a pair of we have a $40 Grog Tag gift certificate to give away tonight.
This is to be discussed over the collaboration beer that Keith and I brewed together.
Oh yeah,
that you're refusing to drink.
I had a sip, and I had a second sip, and that's pretty much all you're going to get out of it.
We pulled back the bitterness because we weren't sure that you liked bitterness.
We tried to make this for you.
We put honey in it because we know you like things that are sweet. And
that's true.
You're like a giant bear. We were like, wow. I
am a giant bear.
The honey bear needs more honey.
That's true.
There was a giant disc of honey because the honey had been crystallizing for a year in this bucket that Keith had.
So it's quality ingredients.
And we just had to,
Honey is still good, man. Come on. It's just...
Sure, it's edible, yeah.
So we didn't do I talked Keith out of the bittering edition, and we just let some of the later hop editions give it the bitterness, so it's got a real soft bitterness to it.
I think like 1085
There's
OG.
something a little odd, though, yeah.
Let's give away a Grog Tag, $40 gift certificate.
So as
talk about
JP's
your
trying to
bullshit
move
beer
me
later.
along, I want Keith's full tasting notes on this beer. Now, the Grog Tag, well, I'm pretty sure it goes to Philip.
Philip, all right, dude. $40 to grogtag.com. Nice work.
Yeah, and he's going to keep brewing it, and I know he's going to rock it.
Hell yeah.
His third lager will be the best ever.
Sorry you didn't win anything, Ricky, but, that's how it goes.
Thanks for sharing that sour. He's learning a lot, and he's got the bug, I can tell.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sour bugs.
Absolutely. Okay, I think we're done. Oh, I do have to tell you about the Catalyst, of course. The folks at Craft Brew have just released an awesomely compact conical fermenter called the Catalyst. It's made from plastic that's over 90% more scratch resistant than other plastic conicals and 71% less oxygen permeable. Its low-profile stand design allows it to fit snugly in your fridge or right on the countertop. Cleaning is a breeze because the entire lid snaps off, so you can be sure to get all those crusties off the sides. Perhaps the best part, though, is the giant 3-inch butterfly valve at the bottom, allowing you to attach any size mason jar for each collection during fermentation. Recently, they've teamed up with Stone Brewing Company to offer a homebrew version of their famous Stone Pale Ale. So be sure to check that out at craftbrew.com underneath the products section. Again, craftbrew.com. All right. I think we did good today.
We'd like our sponsors.
Yes, thank our sponsors. Hang out with them if they're at...
Thank Krusty Burger for sponsoring us this month.
If they're at NHC, hang out with them at NHC.
Thank our
them.
brewers, obviously.
Obviously, for sure. Thank everybody for participating in the show. Thank you to 5-Star. Thank you to my co-hosts. And
what does someone have to do if they want to enter this thing?
Well, that's a good question. Email jp@thebrewingnetwork.com. I do have a backlog of a few months to work through.
Of emails you need to read? Is that what you're saying? Like
yeah. Because I get a bunch of them and I just file them away and then I hit you up a couple months before the show.
I emailed you last month and you still haven't gotten back to me about that email I sent you.
Yeah, I don't reply to the emails like, hey, I want to be on the show, because then there's an interaction. And then I lose the email. So I file it, and I have a system, and it pisses some people off.
I told you about like dyeing your beard a little bit. It was what I was recommending, but
I would never do that. Because I don't want to be like Lagunitas. I want to be true to myself.
What show number is this?
That's a good question, dude. I have no idea.
It's up in the 90s.
It's almost 100.
We're getting towards 100.
I think. What if this was 100 and we didn't know about it?
I don't know.
That'd be funny. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you later. This has been Dr. Homebrew, and you've been Nay-Nayed.